Mark, thanks for joining me. Following the RFU's decision to turn down Ealing's and Doncaster's application to join the Premiership, should they win the Championship, there's been widespread condemnation. Can you please give me your thoughts?
My initial response was one of massive surprise. And the reason I was so surprised was I know colleagues at both of those clubs. I know the effort and the expense that's been put in over the past several years. It doesn't just happen overnight, several years to get themselves to a position where they believe they could pass that audit and would qualify to be promoted. So I was very surprised, as I say, on the basis that it turns out the RFU's decided they've not. And the second aspect of that surprises me is that if the RFU had been so keen to get somebody to go to the Premiership, as we've heard they have been, these audits went in months ago. They didn't go in a couple of days ago. And I would have expected the governing body to be working with those two clubs, pulling them to one side and saying, hey, look, it looks great so far. The only issue we've got is around capacity. Can we work together to figure out how we get past that so we don't have a fail? Clearly that hasn't happened, or if it has, I'm not sure why it didn't get resolved, but certainly reading Doncaster's statement earlier today, it doesn't suggest that there was that kind of interaction, and they're as shocked as we are, I think.
Doncaster say they're disappointed, disheartened and dismayed with the decision by the RFU, and that the remaining championship games will be played in an atmosphere of despondency. What's your opinion?
I think for this season, that's probably correct. I think that, we've been lucky enough to be involved until maybe last weekend, but this has been the tightest season we've ever seen in the Championship. And the absence of, a Premiership club on the naughty step has made a real difference to the league, I think. And we've seen a number of clubs step up, and some of the rugby's been outstanding. But I don't think we should take that as a given that no club is going to go up in the future. Again, going back to that RFU statement, it seems like the only place they fell over on was on capacity. And in both cases, that's easily remedied. And therefore, I would hope going into next season, that gets cleared up. In fact, it might get cleared up this season because Doncaster are appealing, remember? So it might not be the end of it yet. But I would have thought that seems to be the stumbling block, and therefore we should be good for seasons going forward.
Mark, in the last 24 hours, we've seen fans and professional players, amateur players from across the leagues denouncing the decision. Are they right to be so angry, do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely do. For the reasons we've just touched on, I can't understand how the RFU is allowed to get it to this stage. As I say, they should have been pulling the two clubs aside and saying, hey, look, these are the issues. Let's work on them. Let's get one of you through this. And that doesn't appear to have been the case. So, yes, I think everybody, not least of all the two clubs involved, have an absolute right to be quite angry about this.
Given the situation, what's the future for Jersey Reds, and now where do the club's ambitions lie?
So we've always said to this date that we don't have the capacity to go forward, not just on the basis of a ground, but the funding difference between what there is available in the Championship and the Premiership doesn't make that possible. And again, as I've always said, that doesn't mean we're not ambitious. We absolutely are. And if we can find ourselves in the right funding position, we would certainly be looking at a tilt at the Premiership at some time in the future. But a few things have to change, I think, before that can happen.
Thanks very much for joining me, Mark. Really do appreciate your time, and I'm sure fans and viewers will really appreciate your thoughts. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.